Alright guys, so we have the new Imagine round versus Jogo, so I'll be doing a guide on how to get S rank in the SP battle today. Now, I will be showing you guys two strategy, however, both strategy would be without Sukuna, and I'll be using Blue Gojo in both of the team lineups. And the reason is, obviously I have a Sukuna, you can just literally sub out Blue Gojo for Sukuna, and the strategy is exactly the same, so there's no need for me to just do a run for the sake of it. Instead, I actually want to show two slightly different ways of beating it, even though they're both using Blue Gojo. And the reason why the difference is that the first strategy, as you can see, this one does require certain characters for it to work. First of all, it doesn't require SSR Momo because the enemy do hit very hard, so it's ideal if you have a blue supporter. It doesn't need to be very high level, as you can see mine is only level 100, but you do need a blue supporter, okay? And then you also need the second DPS. I think any second blue DPS is going to work here because you just need to wipe out the enemy's first HP bar, and that's enough, okay? So this is a very consistent way of beating it. I bought in Shoko in the backup just in case Yaga does too early, and then I can use Shoko to go into a bit of a stall for the later stage of this battle, but in my actual run, my Yaga meant to survive through the whole time, so I didn't even need to bring Shoko here. So this is definitely a very consistent way of beating it, and I'll show you the skill level. I do have all of the buffers at level 10, and my Gojo's at level 10 ult, and also self buff at level 10. But as you can see, my Maki is not that highly invested in terms of skills, and I'm pretty sure with this setup, your blue Gojo doesn't need to be 5 dupe or anything like that, because even if you can't actually one-shot the enemy second HP bar, because I'm meant to beat it in 6 turns, you don't need to beat it in 6 turns, right? You can just go with a bit of a stall towards the end with Shoko and just making sure your Maki slowly chip down the enemy. So this is definitely a very consistent way of beating it, okay? But obviously this does require certain character, for example, second trained up blue DPS and also SSR Momo. So if you're lacking those characters, then this is the alternative strategy I'm going to show you guys. But this one is going to be a bit RNG heavy. Basically, this strat is kind of going off the fact that because you only have one blue DPS rather than two blue DPS, you need to double ult on your blue Gojo to actually kill off the enemy. And that's kind of why you need this combo of Kaito and Toge to make sure Toge can use skill 2 every single turn in order for your Gojo to actually charge up ult twice in this battle. Now, the recollection you want here as well is that you want to make sure your Toge actually survive for at least the first 5 or 6 turns, otherwise your Gojo won't be able to charge up his ult in time, and that's kind of why you see me bring 2 AoE healing as well as Sukuna's Vessel, who not only have damage reduction, which you want to activate on turn 1 because that's when enemy is going to use domain expansion, and also you have the passive ability giving yourself a resurrection, and therefore that kind of ensures the Toge is able to survive long enough to make sure your Gojo actually charge up his ult the second time around. But that's basically the main idea, and very likely, even with all of this healing and protections, etc., one of your character will die, and that's where Momo then come in. And for this one, obviously SSR Momo will be better, but if you don't have SSR Momo, SR Momo is also going to work fine because all you need is basically to stack this twice so that your Gojo can get maximum amount of buff for his second ultimate attack to one-shot the enemy. Now, I critted on my attack, and I think you probably need to crit on your second attack as well in order to actually one-shot the enemy. So that's kind of why there's better RNG, both in terms of how many of your character actually survive long enough. Actually, I think I may only need the crit because my Yaga died early. So maybe if my Yaga survives long enough, I wouldn't need a crit. You probably just need to play around to see, how much damage you are doing and how much RNG is actually needed. But just be warned, this is quite RNG heavy if you do not happen to have SSR Momo or a second blue DPS for the more consistent strategy. Okay. Now the last thing I'm going to cover is going to be the handicap. Now the handicap, the one I have on my screen right now, is the one with blue Momo and also a second blue DPS, and as a result I am able to pick this one, which is basically increase the damage taken by non-blue characters. However, if you're using the other strategy I'm showing, the more RNG heavy one, what you want to do is rather than putting this at maximum, you want to put this at 1, and then instead this one increasing all enemy's max HP instead of not having anything, because you still need to get 18 score in order to get S rank, you need to put it at this one. so the middle tier for the max HP. So that's kind of the only variation you need to make between the two strategies, depending on which one you're using. And then I'll just quickly show you the other ones. So increase max HP, oh sorry, decrease all of our max HP. Yeah, you want the highest one for that. Increase all of enemies damage, highest one for that. Enemy max HP, this is one way to change either not at all or in the middle tier, depending on which strat you're going with. All damage taken decrease 35%, so the highest tier. This one always pick it, so all of the Ember insect would use curse technique to attack everyone. That's actually preferable because that actually charge up your ult a bit quicker as well. This one definitely do not pick it, otherwise you won't be able to do enough damage to Jogo before the first 7 turns, and then Gojo would just leave the battle. So definitely do not take this. This one you definitely need it, otherwise you won't be able to reach the score of 18. And then this is the last one. Once again, depending on which strategy you go with, you either put this at the highest tier or at the lowest tier.